We're out here downtown today celebrating the completion of 4 projects that were voted on during our Downtown Decides participatory budgeting process. And we're riding a bike from one location to the other to do a ribbon cutting at each of the 4 transportation projects. Some of the projects we're celebrating today are new bike lanes in the Central Business District, the painting of an island in the middle of the road yellow so people can see it, and some new trash cans in the Sweet Auburn corridor. This is the direct result of citizens participating in this program. This is the first time we've done participatory budgeting in Atlanta, and it puts the power directly in people's hands on how tax dollars are spent, and we're just thrilled with the response and the success of the program so far.
Chastain Park is the largest park in the city of Atlanta. This is the last piece of the Chastain Park path, and it's taken over 25 years since it began, and we are here at a groundbreaking to celebrate this last piece getting ready to start. You know, the phrase, it takes a village. Well, it certainly takes a village here. There have been lots and lots of organizations who have helped make this happen. I think there are over 500,000 people and probably about 250,000 dogs that use the path each year. It's an asset that is used by many, many people, from young people walking along to people on bikes to people running and exercising and folks coming after work to enjoy a stroll in the park. And the path has really been a catalyst for revitalizing the park, and so lots of park partners here today with NYO and the horse park and the pool, and it's a wonderful time to celebrate together.
Today we're here for an unveiling. We're unveiling an urban farm, one of the biggest urban farms that will be based here in District 3. And we're here to address the food insecurities that this district has faced for decades. And I think what's so innovative about this idea is that we've partnered with Washington High School, with Greenleaf Farms. We're going to be partnering with the American Heart Association to bring together an ag STEM program that's going to cultivate new, young, fresh blood in urban farming. That's going to really be focused on how we can move together as a community in addressing food insecurities within Atlanta. It is time that we take action in our own hands and we start cultivating innovative opportunities like an urban farm, like a grocery retail model where we can pipeline produce into the communities and really help lift up and support our residents.
We're here today at the Maggie Russell Tower to help to provide, along with our partners GenCare and their Executive Director, Councilwoman Carmelita Gum from South Fulton, 80 COVID-19 vaccines for seniors who are here in the building. There are over 400 residences in the Maggie Russell high-rise, but there are about 80 folks who had not received their COVID-19 vaccines. So a lot of the seniors, aren't mobile, meaning they may not have a car or access to transportation, to help them to get vaccinated, to protect them and others who already have been vaccinated in the building from the scourge of COVID-19. It is still important to adhere to the CDC guidelines so that we can beat this pandemic. We are so close to the end of it. Millions of adult Americans have been vaccinated, but we need every American to step up, get a shot in the arm, because it protects yourself, it protects others, it protects our community. The city of Atlanta is still in phase 2. We would like to open up. We can't do so until we have the results in the broader community that our infection rate is beneath 5%, that people are still wearing masks and socially distancing, that everybody is getting vaccinated. The more we do that, the quicker we can go back to normal.
One, two, three, cut. This is called Centennial Yards, formerly the Gulch, and of course this whole development was passed in 2018 by the Atlanta City Council. So this is one of the first pieces of development. There's about 15 different parcels that will eventually be developed over the next 10 to 15 years. So the first portion here is at Ted Turner Drive and Peter Street, which is in the Castleberry Hill neighborhood. And there's 162 apartments that have been rehabilitated to its natural historic beauty. So this is an old building that was probably built somewhere around 1910. There are studios and 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. So this development is actually the gateway to further development in Southwest Atlanta. Castleberry Hill has really been flourishing along with other areas in Southwest Atlanta. We're just very excited about the development that's happening in this area. It's going to anchor this end of the lower end of downtown Atlanta from Marietta Street, coming back to Castleberry Hill and going further southwest. So this is something that's very exciting, and we're looking forward to more development that will take place.
We're here today at the Freedom Barkway Dog Park to celebrate some work that T-Splosh and Renew Dollars did in the park to mitigate a long time erosion problems we were having. And we're here out on a Saturday morning with the neighborhood. I mean, look, we build these dog parks for dogs, and then you quickly realize, if you're a dog owner and you bring your dog to a dog park, that we also build these dog parks for humans, because they're really a community focal point. You make new friends, you have great conversations, you have moments of solitude and reflection, and they're really special places with man's best friend. Wherever you live in the city, visit your local dog park, take care of it. It's a really beautiful community space, and it's a place that brings people together. And if you're over here on the east side, come by the Freedom Barkway Dog Park. We'd love to see you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started in just a few seconds. Make sure sure everybody's on the line.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Councilmember Jennifer Ide. The time is now 6:01 p.m. on Tuesday, May 18th. And we are in our fourth day of the City Council reviews of the Mayor's proposed fiscal year 2022 budget. We had departmental hearings this morning, and we're here this evening for two public hearings, the first of which is going to be our remote public hearing for the tax millage rate for fiscal year 2022. I hope everybody's able to hear me. Let me take 1 second to make sure we have our audio working right. Tom's team, are we good? Okay, I think we are good. Sorry about that. So I'll just say that over again. We are here tonight at 6 o'clock, Tuesday, May 18th, for our remote public hearing for our tax millage rate for the fiscal year 2022. Here tonight is our Chief Financial Officer of the city, Roosevelt Council, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Council for him to introduce other members of his team who may be participating in the presentation. And after you introduce your team, you can jump right into the presentation tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. Especially the
Mr. Council, let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Council,
Sure.
let me interrupt you for 1 minute. I do believe that we did open this up for public comment, and I believe that we did have public comment that we should play before you jump into that. Let me I think that we had one caller to call in, so I'm going to ask our tech team if they will play the public comment, and then I'll turn it back over to the CFO.
This is Cynthia White, and I'm speaking to item 3995242 concerning the property here in tax.
My computer. We're going to try to play that again because that sounded, it was difficult to hear the caller. Our tech team just needs 1 minute to see if we can get the sound better on that. And if you're listening in and you're not hearing anything, we are trying to play our public comment. We played it, but it was difficult to hear. So thank you for your patience as we try to figure out if we can get a better audio.
And I'm speaking to item 3995242 concerning the property hearing tax. I am a landlord and a small business owner. I really appreciate the fact that the city is aware of and making adjustments for those of us who are in this particular predicament with not having a
Either way it goes, the point is it's something of men and the
as our local tenants, it's difficult to watch them go through difficulties trying to manage to pay rent that many of them simply don't have. And getting the financial aid that they need is not always easy either. So during these difficult times, having said that, I wonder if there's any provision made for those of us who were prepared to do the evaluation hearing. To get ready for that evaluation hearing, I incurred an expense of $700 for an appraisal, which I know is something I needed to do, but more importantly for me, to make my point to you all who were sitting on that board, to have you understand where I was coming from a professional vantage point as opposed to just my own vantage point. So I appreciate the fact that there will not be an increase in the taxes that I have to pay. However, I want to know what, if anything, you can do to help me during the next period of time to bear the brunt of that evaluation of the money that I incurred, the $700 for the appraisal, which I had to have done before now, so that I would have been ready for my hearing, which did not quite took place, but we didn't finish everything. So that's what I'm calling for, help on that. And I appreciate all that you're doing and that you are aware of how difficult it has been for those of us who own property in the city of Atlanta to meet the needs of the city as well as the needs of our tenants. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got that audio quality better so we could hear our public comment. I do want to recognize we've been joined by Councilmember Natalie Archibald and Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. And now I'm going to turn it back over to you, Mr. CFO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good evening, all council members and the listening public. This presentation today will cover the City of Atlanta's fiscal year 2022 proposed property tax mill rate. If we can advance the slide. The City of Atlanta's property tax millage consists of 3 levies. Operating levy, which actually covers the general operating expenses of the city. Then there's a bond levy, which covers the debt service payment on general obligation bonds that have been issued. And lastly, a parks levy, which covers expenses related to the City of Atlanta's parks. The current fiscal year mill rate for the City of Atlanta is a combined rate of 10.23. The proposed FY22 mill rate shown here for the City of Atlanta is an estimate until an authorized 2021 tax digest from Fulton and DeKalb County is received. Once received, the city will perform an analysis of the digest and determine the FY22 mill rate for the city. Adoption would then take place when the city receives the Atlanta Public School mill rate and the Fulton County Library mill rate. The next slide. This slide represents or reflects the breakdown of the tax levies by municipality. Atlanta Public School receives 50% of the levies. Fulton or DeKalb County receives 25% of the levies. And the City of Atlanta receives the remaining 25%, with 19% going to the operating levy, 5% to the bond levy, and 1% going to the parks levy. Madam Chair, if there are no questions, that actually wraps up this presentation for the FY22 proposed property tax mill rate.
All right, Councilmember Archibong or Councilmember Westmoreland, and I've been joined by anybody else. Does anybody have any questions? We will be repeating this presentation on 2 other dates, which will be Wednesday, May 26th at noon and 6 p.m. and on Monday, June 7th at 1 p.m. So that will be another opportunity to ask questions. But any questions from City Council members?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Council, and we will be hearing from you again on those other dates. And we're going to close this hearing, and we're going to come back in about 4 minutes for our interactive community public hearing on the budget overall. But thank you for being with us tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
have been speaking away with my phone on mute. Apologies for that, everybody. Good evening. This is Councilmember Jennifer Ives. The time is now 6:16 on Tuesday, May 18th, and we are at the end of day 4 of the City Council review of the Mayor's proposed fiscal year 2022 municipal budget. At 6 o'clock tonight, we held our first remote public hearing for the tax millage rate, and the last piece of our budget process for today is our interactive community public hearing. We usually, of course, do this downtown in City Council chambers at City Hall, and it is a little bit more interactive where the public can come in and we can speak to each other. But our team has put a lot of work into making this as interactive as possible, even though we are remote. We did that in several ways of allowing the public to send in their comments about the city's budget or to ask questions. There was an email set up, budgettalk@atlantaga.gov, and a voicemail where people could leave a message by dialing 404-546-1928. And we also opened up our social media sites, Facebook and Twitter, through direct message at ATL Council. And we've received, I believe, a dozen or so comments and questions on the fiscal year 2022 budget, which we will go through in just a moment. I do want to thank everybody from the mayor's office and the administration, the department, for being here tonight with us to be able to respond to these questions. Our Chief Operating Officer of the city, John Keene, and Deputy COO, Mohammed Balo, will be fielding the questions and then calling on other department heads as necessary. So I want to acknowledge, I believe I've been joined this evening on the City Council side by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland, Councilmember Natalie Archibong, and there may be some other council members who I've missed, but I can acknowledge them if they'll let me know that they're here. We are going to start this by playing all of the public comment and questions, which is a little bit over 18 minutes, and then we'll go through the items after that and provide responses. So with that, let's play the public comment.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Hallacy. I'm the Executive Director of Park Pride. Park Pride supports more than 160 Friends of the Park groups, the majority of which are located in the state of Atlanta. Park Pride believes everyone in the city of Atlanta should have access to quality, well-maintained parks. I'm here to speak today on the topic of park maintenance, as it is my experience that more funding and resources are needed to adequately support park maintenance. We urge City Council and the administration to recognize these facts that were shared in the public meetings as part of the City of Atlanta's Parks and Recreation Master Planning process. This plan, Activate ATL, promises to set a 10-year trajectory for taking our parks and recreation system to the next level. Through the public engagement process, we learned that maintenance and improvement-related issues are the #1 thing that keep Atlantans away from using park and rec facilities. We also learned that 24% of City of Atlanta residents, nearly 1/4, reported that park and rec facilities are not well maintained. This is double the national average. This is not okay. Over the past year, Atlantans have sought refuge in their parks. They have found the parks near where they live and have embraced parks not just as nice to have amenities, but as critical infrastructure for their health and wellness and the health and wellness of their families and those they love. Sadly, this critical infrastructure does not get the attention and resources needed to meet the community's needs. We can do better. According to a recent report by the Trust for Public Land, the City of Atlanta's Department of Parks and Recreation operating budget is approximately 1.9% of the total city budget. At present, the City of Atlanta is ranked 40th out of 100 U.S. cities by the Trust for Public Land for its parks and recreation system. Now, it's worth noting that the City of Atlanta is not static in this ranking. We are improving. 4 years ago, when Mayor Bottoms first took office, Atlanta was 50th out of 100 U.S. cities, and now we are 40th. However, the question before us all is whether or not we're good with 40th or if we aspire to go higher. To rise in this ranking of peer cities, we would need to substantially increase the budget for the Department of Parks and Recreation. If we do, the residents and neighborhoods throughout our city will be the beneficiaries of this increased investment. The City of Philadelphia is currently ranked 15th by the Park Score by the Trust for Public Land. Atlanta, once again, is 40th. To match the city of Philadelphia, the city of Atlanta would need to increase DPR's budget by 27%. Do we see ourselves as aspiring to be a top 20 city for parks and recreation? How about top 15? If so, we need to substantially increase the parks and rec budget. 1.9% will not get us to top 20 or top 15. I know that the Parks and Recreation plan that is currently in development is on the horizon. We could decide to wait for the completion of that plan before taking this important need. However, we all know that a substantial increase in the Parks and Rec budget would provide immediate benefits to residents throughout our city. The people have spoken, ask, increase spending for park operations and maintenance, and send a message to the residents in your district and the city as a whole that Atlanta has set its sights on something greater than 40th out of 100. We can rise to this challenge as we continue to rise through TPL's Park Score rankings. Thank you.
City President, and just wanted to go ahead and voice some support for increasing our park and recreation budget for renovations, extensions, more park plays, overall operations, things that really makes Atlanta a unique city compared to all the other metropolitan cities in the United States is our green space. We have beautiful, beautiful green space, and it's our defining factor. It's good for the environment. It's for families. It's good for people. So let's keep making that investment. We appreciate everything that you guys do, and hope that you do so by increasing budget for our parks. Thanks for everything you commit to our city, and yeah.
Which is comprised of less than 36 units, approximately 2,000 voters. We are concerned about the continued wasting that is condos, townhouse, and commercial property owners. As you know, we do not receive any recovery recycling and separation from the city. It is unneeded to be charged for services we are not getting. We also been singled out to pay for common goods services such as street cleaning and right-of-way mowing. These are services for all the public and all taxpayers that pay for them, not just multi-family or commercial property owners. The 2022 budget did not contain these unfair fees. We understand that a settlement proposal is before the Senate now in the solid waste fee lawsuit. We urge you to accept a reasonable settlement proposal. With that on the table, the lawsuit can no longer be used as an excuse for inaction. We have been calling and writing about this issue for 2 years. Now is the time for the council to amend the ordinance to stop this bad practice going forward and to bring this issue to a close. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sophie, and I'm a board member of Park Pride. I am also the volunteer community engagement director for the Sarah J. Goldsmith Park, which is part of the city of Atlanta Park. And I just wanted to really give my funding for beyond the pandemic completely changed the way that people interact with green spaces, and to really put an effect to it, you know, we need better funding for our parks. We need that to maintain it, because parks and green spaces serve to alleviate a variety of mental health issues. Studies have shown that if people are at least 10 to 15 minutes a day, there is a serious decrease in a variety of mental health issues such as depression, anxiety. And when people have parks and green spaces that they can go to that are, you know, really those havens of rest and, you know, beacons of realization, that makes the difference. So please, I would highly encourage and advocate that we pass additional funding for our parks department. Again, my name is Sophia Borg. I am a Fulton County resident. I live in Morningside, and I just really hope that we're able to approve that budget. Thank you.
My name is Arlene McMichael, and
This message is of the Lowwater Estate Owners Association, Inc., a townhome community in the city of Atlanta, DeKalb County. Our community has 46 individual owners, each of whom pays City of Atlanta property taxes, including sanitation and the E-91 fee. Beginning in 2016, but never prior to that, the property as a whole received a separate bill for 911 services. Then in 2017 and 2018, no 911 charge appeared, but in 2019 and 2020, the property was billed for sanitation services and the property itself does not require or decrease sanitation services or 911 service, as those are paid for individually by the 46 homeowners in the association. The legal entity, Lowwater Estate Owners Association, Inc., does not own property. The land is owned in common by the 46 individual owners whose property include the common areas. We do not believe that the property should be billed for these services, as they are already paid by the 46 individual owners. I can be reached by phone at 404-210-6473. This message is on behalf of the Lowwater Estate Owners Association, Inc., a townhome community in the city of Atlanta, DeKalb County.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for your time today. My name is Courtney Smith, and I'm a resident of the Midtown neighborhood and a member of NPUE. As a highly engaged citizen and community leader, I am seeing in detail the daily challenges that our city is facing with public safety. These challenges are rooted in numerous factors, but there is a clear pattern that connects public safety and quality of life concerns with irresponsible businesses that are licensed to serve alcohol. Our city needs to modernize our licensing process and review our policies. We should rewrite some of the Chapter 10 code to rebalance community needs with the privilege of serving alcohol as our city grows. And we're on our way with ATEC 3 and some of the legislation that you all passed already this year. And thank you for hearing the call of your constituents. Part of the solution to all of this is also in the fiscal year 2022 budget. I'm asking that you support the increase in the APD budget associated with personnel expansion and specifically in the Criminal Investigation Division, License and Permits Department. If we want better enforcement, we have to ensure that there is funding for the tools APD needs, and that starts first with having a well-trained and sufficient staff. In the recently completed performance audit, License and Permits has only 11 of the 21 staff members that are recommended. Having a full department will improve evaluation of applications, enhance response to community leaders that are taking time to voice concern. It'll expand the number of possible investigations, and it will most importantly send a signal to bad operators that the city is committed to swift enforcement. New funding, rather than the expectation that APD will just shift existing resources, will ensure that no other public safety effort is compromised to achieve these improvements, and that the change is immediate and permanent for 2022. The funding should be used to hire and train both civilians and sworn officers so that we're always maximizing our tax dollars and the expertise. As a resident of the highest value neighborhood in the city, I believe that lively nightlife is a vibrant part of healthy city living. We have great operators that are creating incredible experiences that we're all enjoying. Let's ensure that all operators are good operators when they're given the privilege of alcohol, and expand funding for license and permits to make that happen. Thank you for your consideration today.
This is R.R. Harris, Friends of Kaya Heights Park in the Adamsville community. It is extremely important that the City of Atlanta parks provide a safe and clean environment with amenities such as playgrounds, tennis, and ball fields for visitors to engage and enjoy. Park advocates, I support an increased budget for the City of Atlanta Park Operations and Maintenance Department. Thank you.
This is John Sabert. I'm a 33-year resident of the City of Atlanta, and I'm calling to oppose the continued fees for solid waste. In my condo in 2019, I paid $75.99. That was composed of a
fee of $12.60 and a multifamily fee of $63.39. You promised not to raise this, but in 2020, you in fact did raise it. My multifamily fee remained the same, but my common goods fee went 3 times to $36.27, making my total bill $99.66, a 30% increase. Did you lie to us, or did Public Works lie to you? Now you tell us you can't do anything because you don't know the true cost of solid waste pickup, and you're waiting on a study. And there's a lawsuit. None of this matters, as morally the fees are performed. There are 53,000 residents composed of condos, apartment rent, and small businesses that are currently paying these illegal fees. Those suffering the most include restaurants because of the pandemic. Stop fees help restaurants. Another third group is affordable housing. Renters are hit with these same fees. Stop solid waste fees for affordable housing. Help affordable housing. Now is the time for City Council to step up, be the hero, don't be the villains. Stop these solid waste fees in this year's budget. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alicia McMichael, and I am the CEO and founder of Poverty to Prosperity, and we support the increased budget for park operations and maintenance. Due to this being an unfortunate time with COVID-19, our parks have become a safe haven to many people within our community, and we just would like to thank Park Pride for everything that they do, not just within our community, but throughout communities all over. Thank you so much.
My name is Victoria Lee, and I'm a condo owner in downtown Atlanta. I am also a member of a coalition to stop solid waste fees that you authorize Department of Public Works, even though that we have to hire as per your ordinance. We have been imploring you to rescind this unfair and morally wrong practice, because we feel that our concern is remember that you are public servants and we pay your salary. And you will vote in this November. So please take action. Rescind this.
Which is comprised of 936 units and approximately 2,000 voters. We are concerned about the unpaid waste fees that have been levied on condos, townhouse, and commercial property owners. As you know, we do not receive any trash pickup, recycling, or solid waste removal from the city. It is outrageous to be charged for services we are not getting. We also have been singled out to pay for concentrated services such as street cleaning and right-of-way photos. These are services for all the public, but all taxpayers should pay for them, not just multi-families, but commercial property owners. The 2022 budget should not contain these unfair fees. We understand that a settlement proposal is before the city now and the solid waste fee lawsuit. We urge you to accept a reasonable settlement proposal. With that on the table, the lawsuit can no longer be used as an excuse in action. We have been calling and writing about this for 2 years. Now is the time for the council to amend the ordinance to stop this bad practice going forward and to bring this issue to a close. Thank you.
All right, I believe that was the end of public comment. We are definitely having some audio issues, so I'm going to ask that everybody who is on the line, please mute your phones unless you're talking. I'm hearing people moving around. I'm hearing coughing, and it was really difficult to hear the public that was calling in. Thank you. That's better. So apologies to the public if you left a comment and it was hard to hear your comment, or if you were trying to hear those comments. We will make sure that we do better next time, because that was really not up to our standards of trying to run an effective remote meeting. So let's see, that was 11 comments, I believe, and I'm going to ask the administration to respond to these. I'm going to run through them sort of in categories of, let's take the solid waste service fees first. I believe that we had 5 individuals call in about the solid waste fees. The comments were ranging from feeling like they didn't receive the solid waste services that they were being charged from, townhome communities in DeKalb County, unhappy with the solid waste fees that they're paying, an increase in recent years on the solid waste services common good fee, a large increase, and yeah, that was the summary of it. If you were unable to hear, we had about 5 comments unhappy with the amount of the fees and the amount of the fees in relation to the services they were receiving, and particularly with respect to condo owners. So I'm going to ask Mr. Keene to take it from here, and I apologize, Mr. Bala. I think I moved your title around. You're doing so much for the city right now. So I think I've moved you into the COO's office. I know that you are our Deputy Commissioner of Watershed, but you're taking a laboring oar in this budget process also, so apologies for that. So, Mr. Keene, take it away on solid waste.
Thank you, Councilmember Rudd. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. One, appreciate those comments from the public. Certainly, those concerns and frustrations are heard loud and clear. I'll just make a couple of comments and then allow either our Commissioner of Public Works or the Law Department to add any additional thoughts that they may have. As several of the callers mentioned, we do have a ongoing fee study, which is an important part of determining what are the appropriate next steps and or any potential changes moving forward. So the findings from that fee study will ultimately guide any decisions that we make moving forward as it relates to the solid waste fees. And so I will allow the Commissioner of Public Works or the Law Department to add anything additional to that.
Hello, good afternoon, Chair. Are you able to hear me? This is Al Wiggins, Commissioner of Public Works. Again, I'd like to echo Chief Operating Officer King's comment that we do understand and appreciate the comments. However, I will have to defer any questions or any answers to those questions to the Department of Law due to pending litigation.
Do we have our city attorney or somebody from the law department prepared to speak? Give us just a minute. We're going to find somebody from the law department. All right, we're waiting on somebody from the law department to be able to speak to the current solid waste litigation. Law should be unmuted if somebody can help the commissioner out and speak to the litigation over our solid waste fees and the status of that, the status of our rate study.
Councilmember, this is Tawanya Smith with the Law Department, and I'm with Finance. I am trying to find an answer to that if you just give me just a second.
No worries. And to the public, if you're listening in, we're just waiting for somebody for the law department to get on the line. As you heard Commissioner Wiggins say, there is ongoing litigation with regard to our current solid waste fees, and we are doing a solid waste fee study to look at the rates and what the rates should be going forward. So we're just waiting for somebody from the law department who can speak to this, since we do have litigation about the matter. Commissioner Wiggins would like to defer to the law department. Well, I apologize that we don't seem to have somebody from the law department on to answer this question. I'll just, do we have somebody?
Councilmember, this is Attorney Tawanya Smith again with the Department of Law. I did follow up with my colleague over Watershed, and unfortunately I don't have any definitive information I can give right now. Is there pending litigation, and so we are unable to provide comments in the public forum.
Okay, well, thank you for that, and I understand Commissioner Wiggins' reluctance to speak on this since there is ongoing litigation. I'll just, say City Council is certainly hearing from the residents of Atlanta. I believe, as Mr. Keene said, the administration is also, we're trying to resolve all of this. There is a rate study going on, and the rate study will be used for setting rates going forward. We don't have a definitive timeline yet, but I do want everybody listening to know, City Council and the administration are very aware of this situation. As soon as the rate study is complete, we are certainly going to consider that and move forward. Everybody listening to know, City Council and the administration.
Madam Chair,
can somebody turn? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop talking because we're getting feedback. And yes, thank you, City Attorney Hickson, I don't know if you heard this. We had about 5 or 6 public comments that had questions or concerns about the solid waste fees for the city of Atlanta. Mr. Keene addressed some of them, and then Commissioner Wiggins did. But when it got to the question really of our fees and the rate study, Commissioner Wiggins said he preferred to defer to the law department. So that's why we had asked that somebody from the law department be able to provide whatever response you're comfortable with on the status of our current solid waste fees. Whoops, I'm afraid we lost you. Can we make sure that Ms. Hickson is off mute? Madam, I heard you for a second and then you disappeared again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for the length of time it took to respond. In terms of the fee study and the litigation, as you are aware and as we have reported, there actually are currently 2 sets of litigation involved in the solid waste fees, the current fees. The first lawsuit was dismissed. However, it is now on appeal. The second has been filed, and we are in the process of filing our responsive pleadings, as well as involved in alternative dispute resolution as a means of trying to resolve the matter. In conjunction with the litigation, there's also been a consultant who has been retained by the city to conduct legally defensible rate studies. She was retained right before, I guess it was in March or April of 2020. Prior to that, there had been another company retained, but that particular company was not engaged in the activity which would have provided a legally adequate rate study. And so we had to retain another expert, which we did. We retained her in April. She has begun that process. It has not gone as quickly as we had hoped. However, we are nearing the completion. It is our hope that we will have something to propose to the residents in a matter of within the next 3 months. Once that proposal is made, then it will have to go through the public input process, where I'll have to go through the NPUs. But in order for it to be done appropriately, we had to, retain experts who can do it in a way that is legally defensible. So that's what I'm prepared and can say in the public in terms of the study as well as the pending litigation. Madam Chair, was there anything else?
I think that was that's helpful. Thank you. And Commissioner Wiggins and Mr. Keene, I don't know if you have any other follow-up or any other questions, or if we feel like that's about what we can say today on the question.
No, Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Wiggins. No additional comments at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hickson. Mr. Keene, are you ready for me to move on to the next category?
Councilmember, hopefully you can hear me now. Yes, we are.
All right, thank you. So to the public, hopefully by towards the end of the summer, fall, there will be more clarity on the status of solid waste fees, and it will continue the topic that we discussed and hopefully comes to some resolution later in the year. All right, the next category that we had questions on were really related to the Parks and Recreation Department budget. We had, I believe, 5 questions related to funding for Parks and Recreation, asking for an increase to the parks budget for overall operations, for maintaining green space, for operations and maintenance. I think that pretty much, I think all 5 of those were pretty consistent on asking to make sure that we have sufficient funding for parks and green space and asking for additional funding. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Keene.
Thank you. Again, appreciate the public comments related to Parks and Recreation, and certainly agree that Parks and Recreation is a priority and has been and continues to be a key part of, what makes our city something that we're all extremely proud of. And it has been prioritized over the last several budgets and continues to be a priority in fiscal year 22's budget. The Department of Parks and Recreation did receive an increase of $2.7 million in its proposed FY22 budget. That is general fund. There are obviously other ways that the department funds various improvements as well as operations and maintenance for different parts of the system. I will allow Commissioner Dargle now to add some additional thoughts and insights as it relates to their budget and the ways that they plan to continue to operate and maintain our park system.
Thank you. Welcome, Commissioner Dargle. Can we make sure Commissioner Dargle is off mute? I'm still not hearing Commissioner Dargle. Can we make sure he's on the line and not on mute?
How do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chairman and Chief Operating Officer Keene. We've been blessed over the last several years. We've taken tremendous strides. Thanks in part, as Chief Operating Officer Keene mentioned, we've had periodic increases in our public funding for parks. We've had bond funding for capital projects, which is the renew bond funding, as well as other public funding from watershed improvements, transportation, and other agencies that have contributed to parks over the last several years, as well as strong support from our active park nonprofits and generous philanthropic organizations and partners. And so overall, there's a demonstrated history of funding from public sources, as I said, from parks, the general fund, watershed, transportation, as well as nonprofit partners have assisted us over the years. And as Chief Operating Officer Keene mentioned, we did see a slight uptick in response to some new parklands. And so we are able to bring on additional staffing and to meet some of our actual costs in fleet. So I'm happy to report a slight uptick in our public funding. And again, we'll continue to work closely with our partners and philanthropic organizations to continue the history and partnerships that we have.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Dargle. Moving on to our next, I think our final question that we haven't covered yet was Courtney Smith from Midtown asking for the city to support an increase in the APD budget with personnel expansion and a particular focus on licensing and permitting so that we can adequately deal with establishments with liquor licenses that may be sort of centers of criminal activity in the area. So I'll turn that back over to you, Mr. King.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate Mrs. Smith's comment and certainly agree with her prioritization of our license and permit work. As you know, we have identified there's the need to ensure that we are effectively doing that work as we look to address the increases that we've seen related to violent crime. As part of the last really 6 months, there has been a renewed focus and priority related to a variety of ways to do that work, including addressing areas that had been identified for improvement, both from a staffing as well as a process perspective within the license and permits unit. And so there's been significant progress made, including increased staffing. From the standpoint of the FY22 budget, obviously the Atlanta Police Department, given the prioritization of both the need to ensure that we move forward with the salary increases, that was a commitment made, as well as priority to fill funded vacancies. They have received a substantial increase of over $15 million. As part of that, the license and permit positions are a key priority. And so all positions related to license and permit will be funded and filled. I will allow our leadership team from APD, I know we have several members who I believe are on the line tonight, so I will allow any of them to add some additional thoughts related to the comment from Mrs. Smith. Thank you.
Let's make sure that APD is unmuted, and if anybody from the department would like to add to Mr. Keen's response, feel free.
Hi, this is Darren Sherbaum. Councilmember, hi, this is Darren Sherbaum, Deputy Chief of APD. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Good evening to the additional members of the council, Chief Operating Officer Keen. To reiterate his point, the Atlanta Police Department is giving the highest priority to our license and permits inspections. Included in this budget is 5 additional civilians slated to be assigned directly to the license permits unit to supplement their efforts. Additionally, we began last week an aggressive training program for officers assigned to other areas of the department, such as field operations and community services, for training as supplemental force enhancement. They are being trained on license and permit inspections. And we have begun transferring additional personnel to our evening watch of that unit, which was identified in the audit as an area where additional staffing was needed. Our enhancements of that unit will continue as we identify the best process enhancements, as well as additional resources being transferred there to fulfill their role in curbing the violent crime that's occurring around those establishments.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Sherbaum. And thank you for all the hard work that you do. Mr. Keen, anything else on this topic?
No, that is all I had, Councilmember.
Okay. I think that the very last item, I believe that I covered all of the voicemails. All of them will be saved on the City Council website, which is citycouncil.atlantanga.gov. And once you're on there, if you go to the Finance Executive Committee page, there is a fiscal year 2022 proposed budget link. And if you go in there, we will save the voicemail. So again, apologies if people listening in were unable to hear that clearly, but you can go in and try to hear them there as well. The final comment that we received, which came in through Twitter, was, let me read this. It was from Chris Test, who says, at ATL Council, hashtag ATL budget, where can we find the budget for each council member and their current fiscal year balance for their office budgets? And when I saw this question, I thought, well, this is all on our city council individual websites, and at least certain members of city council have historically listed it there. I did, when I went to double check myself, see that that is not up to date, and so I'm going to bring that to the attention of my colleagues and our city council offices so we can get that brought up to date, because that is the typical place to see the month-by-month expenditures. The open checkbook site, which is checkbook.atlantaga.gov, provides some of that information. It certainly all is public information, so you can search for expenditures there. And you can certainly reach out to your council member and make an open records request if you'd like to do that. But I will take this question back to the rest of my colleagues and to our city council staff, and we will get that information updated. But those are the different ways that you can find out the budget. We do get an annual budget for salaries and then an additional annual budget for supplies and non-personnel costs that can be rolled over if it's not used within a year, and city council members do use their supply amount and the rollover amount for various programs and initiatives, whether it's events or whether sometimes we have the funds to help supplement other projects, whether it's traffic calming or something else. But to Mr. Test and the public, you certainly are welcome to send a request to any of the council members to ask them for a copy of their budget and expenditures. With that, I believe that is the end of our questions. Mr. Keene, do you think I covered everything that you heard in the public comment?
Yes, Councilmember Hyde, I captured what I heard as well, and those were the topics that I captured.
Oh, okay, fantastic. We are going to conclude for the night. Before we do, I just want to give people the preview for the rest of the week. If you're listening in and you want to get even more budget information, we will have budget hearings for the rest of the week, starting at 10 o'clock each morning. Tomorrow, we have the Department of City Planning, the Department of Finance, the Department of Law, then followed by two of our employee unions, AFSCME and PACE. On Thursday, we have the Department of Grants and Community Development, the Department of Aviation, Atlanta Information Management, and Invest Atlanta. Both of those days go from 10 until 2. And on Friday, we have Department of Parks and Recreation, Department of Enterprise Asset Management, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. Then we are going to have our second public hearing on the tax millage rate. And then to hear from our public safety unions from 12 to 12:30, we'll have our firefighters, and then from 12:30 to 1, we will have police, and then at 1 o'clock we will have our personnel paper, which is where we go over all of the changes in headcount. So still a lot more budget to come for the week. We are slated to pass the budget on June 7th. So if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to me, JNIDE, at atlantaga.gov, or to your own council member, and we will try to get people's questions answered, and you're certainly listen to any comments and concerns you have before we pass the budget on June 7th. With that, I want to say a big thank you to Mr. Keene, the commissioners who were here tonight, the law department, the finance department, and the city council staff who makes these meetings run for us. And thank you most of all to the public for your interest in our budget, for your care and concern about the city. And it's always important to hear what's important to you. So with that, I'm going to close this hearing out, and we will be back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to start back up again with our departmental briefings. Thank you.